Dear friends, welcome to this short video which is designed to provide a quick checklist for all professionals who are currently managing their projects on site and due to the recent development owing to the COVID-19 outbreak need to transition to managing your projects virtually as you work from home. So I have broken down the process into 5 steps which are critical to ensure as smooth a transition as possible. So starting with the first step, this is the right time to start prioritizing your projects. Many of us are managing multiple projects at the same time, and this may be a key time to prioritize your projects and see which ones you want to go ahead with, which ones you may want to defer to a later stage. So I'm going to give you a short guideline on how you could prioritize your projects and decide where to put in your resources. There are many ways in which we can prioritize our projects, but some of the most effective ones are prioritizing them against value and the number of resources. So as you see in the graph here, on one scale we have projects which are classified as low value to high value. Now, value here could be a subjective term. It could mean different things to different organizations. Giving you some examples, value could mean those projects which give you highest return on investment, or it could mean the most branded projects that you're working on. It could mean entry into new markets, and that is why it is critical. Or these could be legal projects. These could be mandatory projects you need to work on. So that way we can prioritize our projects based on the value they deliver. On the second axis, we have resources. So projects which are not very resource intensive, which means it might require less manpower or it might require less financial resources. And on the other hand, we have projects which are heavily demanding in terms of resources. So if we try to classify all the current projects we are working on, we can classify them under 4 quadrants. So all projects which give high value and do not actually require that much of resources, these are the best ones to capitalize, and these are usually projects we can absolutely go ahead with. On the other hand, we would have certain very high value projects, but they are also very high in terms of risk, and even the resources needed may be very, very intensive. So these are projects which require more of risk evaluation. We would need to see what kind of opportunities it is presenting to us, and at the same time, what are the threats that we are facing on these projects. And we need to plan ahead and then decide whether these are projects we can go ahead with, or are these projects which we should put on hold right now and then probably continue on a later date when things are better, or we need to scale down these projects, reduce the scope of the project, and then work accordingly. There may also be certain projects which are not very high value, but also they are not very resource intense. So these are projects where we may need to renegotiate our terms to see how overall it can add more value to our organization. And then there are some of those clients, some projects which do not really add any value to the company portfolio but can be heavily resource intensive. These are projects which we must avoid absolutely at this time. Secondly, after prioritizing the projects and deciding which projects we want to immediately go ahead with, continue working on, and we are transitioning from on-site direct project management to virtually managing these projects, we need to look into the new risks which are related to the project. So when it comes to risk identification, there could be several categories of risk we need to look at. I'm sharing some examples with you, like one could be in terms of resources, or there could be risks related to the new technology that you may be working on. So similarly, there could be several categories like how it is impacting your contract. So once you have identified the major impacted risk categories, you would need to start defining the risks in more detail, adding them to your existing risk register. Like for example, travel restrictions can limit your vendor's availability on site, or if you're going for a new collaboration-based technology, lack of availability of the collaboration tools or lack of experience with a certain technology can be potential risks to managing your projects online. Assess the impact of these risks, and then, like how we typically work on a risk register, look at how these are going to affect your specific risks. Like not having your vendor on site when it is usually required may lead to a delay on your project, or lack of availability of the right collaboration tools and technology can lead to communication or coordination challenges. You can then proceed to ranking your risks as high, medium, or low and come up with relevant risk responses. So soon I will be doing one more video where we will talk in a little more detail about specific risks during this particular phase. The next step would be to start identifying the right tools. Now, what do we mean by the right tools over here? To start managing your projects from home or virtually, we would need 2 kinds of tools. One are based on your project deliverables, which means what do we need to get the work done. Second set of tools are what we call as the collaboration tools. How do we stay connected? So when we look at the project deliverable based tools, these could be things like access to an ERP, access to servers, or any tool you need to continue to build your deliverable or even to continue to deliver your service. Also, the collaboration tools. So as work continues to move ahead, how do we stay connected? So in our usual on-site style of managing our projects, it is very common for different stakeholders to work in groups, whether they are your clients, whether it's your project team, vendors, and as and when required, we have the opportunity of meeting face-to-face, which really helps in brainstorming, taking decisions forward, solving out issues, and then this is a dynamic process. However, one of the biggest challenges we face when we move to virtual project management is that suddenly this team starts to feel a little isolated. So we are all working in little silos. Communication is expected to become slower if it is not managed well, and decision making can also slow down. But as we proceed to work, we would much rather want that this kind of an isolated feeling really doesn't happen. Even though we are physically working separate from each other, we continue to stay as one unit, have strong communication, and continue to have that collaboration so that the project moves forward smoothly, as well as the team spirit continues to be maintained and stay motivated. So for this, we would also need to consider what kind of collaboration tools we would need, like options for maybe virtual meeting, any kind of a voice or video communication, options for screen sharing, or a task management tool. How are we going to take the status updates? So these are collaboration tools you must definitely plan for. Once the planning is done, a major aspect is to manage the transition. Now, what exactly do we mean over there? Even though we might have planned for all the tools and processes, and some of the team members may be really excited to see how this new style of working is going to be, there would be several team members who go into panic mode. So they are worried, they are not sure, they feel uncertain whether they will be able to continue working effectively, whether they will be able to use the technology which is required, and these are concerns that we would want to address right away. So the best things we can do is, right from the beginning, create awareness to the team so that they know exactly what is happening, how this transition will happen. After that, it becomes essential to start training the team on the different tools that you're going to be using. Once the training is done, people start feeling comfortable, it would be a good idea to do a pilot testing, which means try a limited set of resources working online, see what challenges they are facing, see if everything moves smoothly, and when you need to move it to a larger scale, it helps you to iron out any potential challenges. Most new efforts require improvisation. When we try out something, our first attempt may not always be the best. So look at the hurdles and challenges you're facing and improvise based on that. And remember to support your team. So even after providing the training and even after moving to the new model, there could be team members who need constant support, especially during the initial phases. So be there to provide that level of support. Your transition to an online-based project management model could be impacting many stakeholders who could be like your sponsors, customers or users, your project team, vendors, other functional managers. So this is a time to ensure that this new transition is a win-win solution for all. Inform the stakeholders of the new changes which are being made. Let them know how you are transitioning, what kind of services you will continue to provide. This ensures that the trust and confidence of the stakeholders continue to remain throughout the project. And the final step would be to monitor. You would really want to see how your project is progressing and look for areas of improvement. So you would need to track your project as usual, which means you would be looking at the performance of the schedule, performance of the deliverable in terms of cost, quality, timelines, and any other priorities that you have. There would be a lot of changes to your contract because of maybe scoping or de-scoping, how your force majeure clause acts onto your contract, any new arrangements that you have made. So see if your contract administration is successful. And also track the progress of your team with the technology, because usually with time, after the learning curve, the team should become more and more comfortable to this model of working. So these are the 5 basic steps which can ensure a smooth transition into moving towards an online project management based model. Wish you good luck. All the best.